halftime, and they win going away. So then I'm sitting pretty because I'm thinking that the surest bet I've made this entire NCAA tournament is Duke. I just had Duke money line paired with Florida on a variety of different tickets. I had Florida in the under because that one, it was the over-under was 161 in that Florida-Auburn game. They're high-scoring teams, but there's never 80-point games when they're played in those football arenas like the Alamo Dome. So I thought I just had easy money, right? I'm basically counting my money. And then when Duke hits 59 points, Houston's giving up 59 points a game. And when Duke hits 59 points with 12 minutes to go in the game, I'm sitting there thinking, man, Duke's rolling. Then the lead gets pushed. At that point, they were up 59-51. Then the lead gets pushed all the way up to 14 points. And, I'm just happy as a clam. I'm sitting there thinking, all right, I got my Calcutta, I got Florida, and even if Florida loses to Duke, that's okay. I'm going to make up the difference with the juice I'm going to put on Duke, right, the national championship, because I think that Duke's going to win going away. And then what happens? One of my worst of the weekend, Duke just melting. Oh, my gosh, this goes hand in hand, right? I had best of the weekend as Florida as the comeback kids and also Houston's inbound defense. Houston's inbound defense had a profound effect on Duke melting down. There's a lot of factors that go into it. One, even though Duke I thought was the most talented team in the bracket, they're also one of the youngest teams in the bracket. They had 3 freshmen and a sophomore in their starting lineup, not a senior in the starting 5. More than anything, though, it's the way Houston plays. Houston straight wears you out. You can sit there and you can be breaking the press and you can handle the pressure and you can do all these different things. And if you do it to a perfect or almost perfect efficiency level, you can actually take advantage of what Houston does defensively. But can you do it for 40 minutes? And that's exactly what happened in this game. Duke did it for 30 minutes, and they were in full control. Then the legs start setting in. Then the youth starts setting in. Then Houston's physicality starts setting in. And all of a sudden, Duke's spiraling, and Houston has an epic, epic win. They rally all the way back from down 14 to win 70-67. Here's the craziest part, though. Duke was up 6 points with 14 seconds to go. That's usually a full kiss of death, right? You got to hit threes and pray for missed free throws and all these different things. Well, Houston did hit a 3, and then they didn't even have to pray for the missed free throws because they were able to first get a tip on an inbounds pass. The call went their way. Then got another steal on it. If you're coaching kids, if you're coaching anywhere from middle school to high school kids, and you want to teach them 2 different parts of basketball. One, how to play inbounds defense and deny the ball. Oh, my goodness. Go watch the way that the Houston Cougars do it. If you want to teach kids the importance of inbounding the ball, go watch Duke and say, don't do that. You also, and I'm not criticizing John Shire because I thought he did a tremendous job. And who takes over for Mike Krzyzewski and makes the program his own as fast as John Shire has? Usually when you take over for a legend, you have a lull for a couple years or it's just a complete disaster and you literally can't do it. You lose your footing, you lose your reputation. John Shire did it almost perfectly. But you have to identify a guy who's an elite inbounds passer. And you have to identify a guy who can then catch the ball not in the corner, somewhere towards the middle of the court, and you got to figure out how to break the press. Duke could not inbound the ball. They literally could not inbound the ball the last minute of this game, and it led to this epic comeback for the Houston Cougars. So this is all to say this is what makes sports great. I thought the only certainty of this Final Four was that Duke was going to the championship game and that Duke would be favored in the championship game. That turned out to be the only thing that didn't happen. It's not Duke and Auburn. It's not Duke and Florida. It's Florida and Houston tonight at 6:50 is when the ball tips. I'm down here at the Tap Club. You need a place to watch it. Come on down. We're at the corner of Mullen and Reserve. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Appreciate you for hanging out with us here on this Monday. We are still finding a way to navigate these next couple of months. So you let us know what you want us to talk about. 406-888-1029. That's 406-888-1029. 1029. Text us and let us know. You got questions, you got comments, you got talking points. We love crowdsourcing. We love to know what you want us to talk about, so let us know, and all guests will join us via the Elevated Tax and Accounting phone line. Elevated Tax and Accounting, elevating you and your business with a modern professional touch. My other best of the weekend, first of all, on Friday after the pro day, I was in Bozeman, and so kind of Sarah Colota, who's become a friend of the show. She's a stand-up comedian who used to be a writer-producer for Chelsea Handler on the Chelsea Lately show, and now has broken out. She wrote her own book. She's doing her own stand-up comedy tour. She has her own podcast. It's been fun to get to know Sarah, and she came on the show 4 times to promote her show, her comedy show in Missoula on Thursday night. Because of looking at the weather and the time that Montana State's pro day started on Friday, I decided I was going to leave late night Thursday, drive through the weather, because I figured, okay, it's better to drive through the weather than it is for the weather to accumulate, stick, freeze, and then I'm leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just driving on black ice. That wasn't for me. That's not what I wanted to do, so I left Thursday night. I missed Sarah in Missoula. So she was kind enough to give me a couple tickets on Friday night. So I took one of my good Bozeman friends there to the show from the Elm, and it was a great time. And then we ended up hanging out with Sarah and her husband, John Ryan, who's a former Seahawks punter, on Friday night. Stayed up way too late, had a lot of laughs, and it was certainly fun just talking shop and just talking life with those two. So appreciate the kindness on their part for letting me be a part of their ride through Montana. You know, it's fun. It's always fun, too, giving people a little tour, right? Like, you're from here, they're not. You're telling them who's who, what's what, where to go, all that stuff. So that was certainly fun. My other best of the weekend, Paige Beckers and UConn going out with a bang. As Andrew Houghton texted me yesterday, he said, UConn's putting the belt to South Carolina again, and that's exactly what happened. I think there was a lot of dominance in women's college basketball this year. Again, that's not that uncommon. But I don't know if people thought UConn as a 2 seed coming into this thing was going to be as dominant as they were, and they absolutely were. They ran through this bracket. They ran through the team that has been sort of the mini dynasty of this last little era in South Carolina. And Paige Beckers, what a way to cap her career. She had a national championship early on. Then she went through a tremendous amount of adversity with all her injuries. And she comes back and has one of the great tournaments we've seen in the modern era. And UConn wins going away. How about 12, count them, 12 rings for Gino Auriemma during his long tenure as UConn's head coach. 24 Final Fours. His first national championship came in 1995. His most recent comes in 2025. So you're talking, you won 12 national championships in 30 years. That's as good of a percentage as we've ever seen. The only other coach in the history of college basketball with that kind of a percentage is John Wooden, the Wizard of Westwood. So pretty good company to be in if you're Gino Auriemma. Somebody asked Gino in the postgame press conference yesterday to put this thing in perspective. So here's just a couple minutes with Gino Auriemma about his team's recent run through the NCAA tournament to give UConn their 12th national championship overall.
In the legacy of UConn women's basketball, how do they fit into that in your mind?
I don't know. I mean, that's usually those things are decided by other people who write what it means. You know, I do think that each championship is a building block, and the legacy is all those blocks placed on top of each other. And I don't know that the bottom one holds everything up, but the first one, I don't think any other one means more to the legacy. Maybe what this one means is that there were a lot of people that didn't think it would ever happen. There are a lot of people that hoped it would never happen. I'm glad that we were able to get to that spot that Connecticut has occupied, and not that we had to win a championship, but in the last 30 years, I don't know that any programs meant more to their sport than what UConn has meant to women's basketball. So I feel good about that.
There you go, Gino Auriemma, following his team's dominant win over South Carolina for their 12th overall national championship. I mentioned Florida, but man, there's been very few individuals that have had a better NCAA tournament than Walter Clayton Jr. has for Florida, especially late in games. He's been unbelievable. Definition of clutch. And it's been pretty crazy to watch. It's been pretty astounding to watch. He goes to this different level. It's funny because if he wasn't making the shots, you'd think they were bad shots. But he's making so many tough shots, so many clutch shots, and it's been unbelievable. I think that's one of the keys tonight. Houston has been so good in taking out opposing teams' dynamic guards. They've basically done it for the duration of the new year. I mean, it's funny to say new year because we're sitting here on April 7th. But they've done it just game in and game out. Like basically every premier team that Houston has played that has a premier guard, Houston's taken them out of the game. Can they do it to Walter Clayton Jr. tonight? If so, what does that mean for Florida? Who else can they use to counter? If not, can Clayton continue to pile them up and lead Florida to victory? It's been almost 20 years. Last national championship for Florida was back when Billy Donovan led that group that included Joakim Noah and Al Horford, Torian Green, a great Florida team to back-to-back national championships. And Florida hasn't won since then. Houston, I was actually surprised by this when I looked it up. Houston's been to the Final Four 7 times. They've been to the Final Four twice under Kelvin Sampson. They also have, of course, one of the most iconic teams in college basketball history, the Phi Slama Jama teams with Clyde Drexler and Akeem Olajuwon. Those guys never won a national championship, though. They went to back-to-back Final Fours. They actually went to back-to-back championship games, 1983, 1984, but they could never get over the top. They lost both of those years. I believe 1983 they lost to that upstart NC State team, which was one of the great Cinderella stories ever. Jim Valvano, probably the greatest coaching job of his legendary career. And then 1984 they lost to Patrick Ewing and the Georgetown Hoyas. And so crazy to think. Phi Slama Jama never won one. So Houston into the national championship game, first time in 41 years, gunning for their first national championship ever. So they could make history tonight. You have to wonder, too, Kelvin Sampson, who long ago started his career at Montana Tech in Butte, Montana. More on that in a minute, too, because he gave a great quote that had great storytelling a part of it about his connections to both Judd Heathcote, who was the head coach at Montana in the 1970s, who then brought Kelvin Sampson as a grad assistant to Michigan State and then helped him return to Montana for his first head coaching job there at Montana Tech. But you look at since then, I mean, Kelvin Sampson's been a head coach for 45 years. He's 69 years old. He's been almost to the mountaintop. If he wins tonight, is that it? Will he retire? This is a great team. This is Kelvin Sampson's image. This is Kelvin Sampson personified in a basketball team. So, can he get it over the top? And what will be the future for Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars? Houston's in this position because of their epic comeback against Duke. I couldn't stop dwelling on this today. Ever since John Feinstein died, I've been reading John Feinstein books. I've almost done with One-on-One, which is sort of like his pseudo-memoir. I also have been reading Season on the Brink. It's actually funny because I love Feinstein, and I've never read Season on the Brink. That's his book about the 1985 Indiana Hoosiers. He got unprecedented access to Bobby Knight when Bobby Knight was at the peak of his powers, but also coming off of one of his first down years ever at Indiana. The point is that I've been thinking a lot about the way college basketball used to be, and I know everything changes. It all ebbs and flows. It's been 40 years since Season on the Brink was written. But all I could think of on Saturday night, other than how disappointing that was for Duke to lose that game, and I was disappointed in it, not just because I had money on Duke, but also because that Duke team was just really, really good. And Duke's always going to be good. I mean, they've been perennially good for 45 years, ever since Mike Krzyzewski first started building that program and elevating it. But Cooper Flagg is an all-time great talent. I'm not saying he's one of the all-time great players at Duke because they've had so many great players that stayed for more than a year. But Flagg is an all-time great talent. And I'm willing to put my analyst reputation on the line that I think Flagg is going to be an awesome player in the NBA. Certainly that could be derailed that notion could go away if he gets hurt, if he gets into a terrible situation. There's all sorts of circumstantial stuff, off-the-court stuff that could happen. But if he doesn't get hurt and he acclimates on a personal level to the professional life of the NBA, I think Flagg's going to be – I mean, he's an athletic Larry Bird. He's a more in shape Luka Doncic. He's similar to Jason Tatum was at this age too. And Tatum certainly continued to elevate his game, and now is at, like one of the best in the league type of levels. But all I kept thinking about on Saturday was, if this was 1988, even if this was 2004, maybe not 2004, but if this was old school college basketball, Flagg missed what would have been the go-ahead shot when Duke was down 1. Then Duke had to foul, and Houston made 2 more free throws to make it a final margin of 3 points. If this was yesteryear, if this was the old school, that exact moment, does Flagg come back? Like, does he come back to Duke because he doesn't want that to be his lasting memory? I think the answer is yes. And the reasons the answer is completely and objectively and almost no question no right now. First of all, it's just a different time. Second of all, he's just so developed. Like, even back then, like even the Michael Jordans of the world, they were not as advanced in terms of being a great fit instantly for the NBA game as a freshman. Nobody was as advanced. I mean, seriously, Cooper Flagg's one of the most advanced guys as a freshman that college basketball has ever seen. So that's part of it. But the other part is just the money in the here and now, and also the money in the near future. The number 1 pick in the NBA right now, based on the new salary structure, is going to make over $12 million a year one. So it doesn't matter what sort of NIL money Cooper Flagg's getting at Duke. I mean, are you kidding me? The highest paid NIL athletes in the country are making half of $12 million. It's still a substantial amount of money, but you got to go make your $12 million instantly. You're also going to get I'd say conservatively a $50 million shoe deal if you're Cooper Flagg. But the other part is you can start the clock towards getting your maximum contract. You can get your first max after 4 years in the league, and then you can get your super max after, I think, 7. The moment you get into the league, the faster you can do that. If you can get to supermax status by the time you're 25 or 26 years old, you're going to make so much money it's not even possible. Like, you're going to change the entire future of everybody in your family for multiple generations. I know it shouldn't be all about the money, but man, I mean, if you can go make $400 or $500 million playing basketball just in salary, not even based on endorsements, et cetera, you absolutely got to go do that. So I think that the old school would say that Cooper Flagg comes back because he wants some redemption. He doesn't want that to be his lasting memory at Duke. But the new school, just based on the insurance of the situation, you got to go. You got to go. You're going to be the number 1 pick overall. Who knows if you go to a good situation or not, but you got to go if you're Cooper Flagg. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm not sure who's behind the glass back at the station, but we'll bump the Tommy Mellott just micro bit of sound to next segment, boys. I was in Bozeman on Pro Day on Friday, and the biggest takeaway, besides how well I thought the Montana State guys performed and what the show that specifically Tommy Mellott, Brody Grebe, and Marcus Ware put on, it was very impressive to watch. It was also just vindicating as somebody that analyzes this stuff and makes predictions and prognostications. Like I said, Mellott was going to run 4-3, and he did. I said Grebe was going to test out the box and be like a mini Troy Anderson. He did. I thought that Marcus Ware was one of the most athletic and explosive offensive linemen I've ever seen in the Big Sky Conference, and that bared out in his testing. So it was vindicating to have those projections come true. But the other part was, I've thought a lot about what I think Tommy Mellott's great NFL projection is, and it seemed that Tommy Mellott agreed. So we're going to talk some track on the high school and college level on the other side, but we'll also talk Tommy Mellott and what he thinks his future might be in the NFL. Nuanez Now live from the Tap Club here on the corner of Reserve and Mullen. If you want season tickets to the Grizz football team next year, there's 8 home games. We're giving away a pair. We're giving them away tonight. You can still get entered in. National championship game tips at 6:50. These guys are doing their drawing a little later on. You do have to be present to win. I know they have a ton of entries already, but if you want to come enter in again or for the first time, you can. You just got to be here when they draw your name. So come enter in right now. Pair of tickets on the 40-yard line for Grizz football next season here at the Tap Club, the corner of Reserve and Mullen, an up-and-coming sports bar here in the city of Missoula, and a very family-friendly location with great food, 37 beers on tap. So come hang out with us. Live from the Tap Club, you're listening to Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers, because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test, so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on, because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
When you buy tires at Les Schwab, you're getting more than just tires. You're getting America's best tire warranty, 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. So if something happens to your tire on the road, we'll fix it, or we'll replace it, no questions asked. Other places make you pay extra for that kind of protection, but at Les Schwab, it's included with every set of tires, because more warranty means less worry, and nobody stands by their tires like Les Schwab. Get more from less.
Attention, your locally owned and nationally known mattress firm thanks the Missoula community for 10 years of amazing support and growth. There's a huge remodel sale blowout before the doors close for their 2-week remodel. All inventory must go. Mattresses, adjustable bases, accessories, all drastically marked down to clear the showroom. Save it to 60% off on top name brands. If you've been waiting for that amazing deal, now is the time. Mattress Firm's remodel sale only April 1st through the 15th.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
From the mining city to the Final Four, Kelvin Sampson is on the brink of a national title, entering tonight's showdown in San Antonio. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. Sampson, Houston's 12th-year head coach, has the Cougars in the NCAA title game for the first time since 1984 and will coach for a national championship for the first time in his decorated career. Sampson's in the Final Four for the third time in his career and the second time with Houston in his 45 years overall as a collegiate head coach. Sampson began his career as a grad assistant at Michigan State under former University of Montana head coach Judd Heathcote back in 1979. In 1981, Heathcote helped Sampson get his first head coaching job, leading the Ore Diggers of Montana Tech in Butte. Sampson won just 7 games in his first season, including none in the Frontier Conference. Year 2 included 22 wins, as did Year 3 and Year 4. Sampson led Tech to back-to-back Frontier Conference titles before taking over as the head coach at Washington State in 1987. Sampson's also made stops at Oklahoma and Indiana before landing at Houston in 2014. The Cougars have been to 7 Final Fours, including 2 under Sampson, but are in search search of their first national title as a program. Tip between Houston and Florida is set for 6:50 p.m. Mountain Time from the Alamo tonight. For more on the culmination of the NCAA tournament, tune into Nuanez Now, live from the Tap Club at the corner of Reserve and Mullen this afternoon at 4 p.m.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
What kind of love have you got? You should be home, but you're not. A room full of noise and dangerous boys still make you thirsty and high.
Sometimes the algorithm really gets you, and that's where I'm at right now with the Eagles on both the Instagram and the Twitter. That's all they're feeding me. They really want me to go to the Sphere. They're sending me messages. The Eagles are back at the Sphere. I don't know how much longer this is going to last. I've heard nothing but unbelievable things. One of my best friends went down there in Vegas, and he said, mind-blowing. He's a music nut just like me. He and I have been to many, many shows throughout the years and been to the Gorge and seen some epic acts, and he said Eagles at the Sphere in Vegas is as good as it gets. So if you're wondering why we've been playing so much Eagles on the show, that's why I'm stuck. I'm trying to convince myself, how do I get down there and see these guys? This is where we're at in the sort of realm of music, right? Rock and roll only came around in, the 50s? And some of the 60s bands have already sort of gone by the wayside. The original Rolling Stones, some of those guys have died. And the Eagles came of prominence in the early 70s. So you have to wonder, how much longer is it going to last? So I'm trying to figure out a way to get down there. Welcome back. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, coming to you live from the Tap Club, the corner of Mullen and Reserve. We're hanging out down here in preparation for the NCAA Men's National Championship game. We got one national champion named to put a stamp on college basketball for the year. UConn dominated South Carolina yesterday in the women's tournament, 12th national championship overall for the Huskies. Tonight, though, we'll have either a first-time ever national champion in the Houston Cougars or a renewal of a previous dynasty in the Florida Gators, who have not won a national championship in 18 years. Last time they won one, 2007, when they went back-to-back under former head coach Billy Donovan. So if you need somewhere to watch the game, it's a great place. They have more than 30 beers on tap. They have excellent food. The TVs are prime. The sound system's excellent. When they have a big-time game on, too, they put that game just on the sound system. So this is a fun place to watch. Also, right in front of me, they're showing Masters promos. So that's coming up. They got 2 Sportsbet Montana kiosks here at the Tap Club, so you get your wagers in. I'm in the midst of a snake draft. I tried to tell these guys, I was like, I can't pick right now. I'm on the radio. I'll figure out my picks for you after 6 p.m. But Masters is coming up this week, too. So this is certainly there's a lot of great sports weeks in the year, but I love it when it's the Final Four weekend into the national championship games for college basketball, and then into the Masters, and the NBA regular season winds down, and then all of a sudden the playoffs crank up, and it just gives you a lot of different things to follow, a lot of variety. So certainly if you'd like to come down to the Tap Club, watch the national championship game, we'll be down here broadcast until 6. The game tips at 6:50, so it should be a fun evening. Also, chance to win a pair of season tickets to Grizz football tonight at the Tap Club. We got to be here in person to win them. They're on the 40-yard line. There's 8 Grizz home games next year. This is a heck of a prize. The 12th day of March Madness. We've been celebrating 12 days of March Madness here at the Tap Club. So if you'd and that 12 is a play on all the games that they play. Obviously, the tournament started multiple weeks ago, probably more like 25 days ago. But there's 12 different days of action, and that's the play they're using. And this is the culmination of all of that. So you still got time to enter, but you got to be present to win. So come on down here and enter in the corner of Mullen and Reserve. Before we get to some of the standout track and field marks from the weekend, and I said this the last couple weeks, late March, like the last week of March when track and field starts at both the high school and college levels, and then the first week of April, you're almost never going to see elite marks, especially in Montana, because, I mean, you saw the weather. It's blowing sideways. It's still snowing. It's like 34 degrees. It ain't good. So we saw, though, shaking off the rust a little bit. There was some big-time marks this last weekend, so we'll get to those in just a minute. But one last thought from this last weekend. I was in Bozeman on Friday for Montana State's Pro Day, and I know I raved about this on Friday's show, but I can't tell you how impressed I was with the way those guys performed. To put this in perspective, a guy like Ty McCullough, who ran a 4.45 in the 40 and had a 36-inch vert, he was like down the list of most impressive performances. A guy like Rylan Ort, he tested completely out of the box. He tested way better than I thought he was going to. He had a 37.5-inch vertical. He did 23 reps on the bench. He had almost a 10-foot broad jump. This is coming from a guy that, people pinned as not that athletic, quote-unquote, kind of stiff, a former walk-on type of guy. I think people thought he was just a try-hard with a bunch of heart, but he showed he's an elite athlete. He was also, though, down the list a little bit. He got a little overshadowed because Tommy Mellott broke the internet with his pro day. Officially 4.39 in the 40, but I had him at 4.33 and 4.36. A 42-inch vertical. He was threatening to get in the top 10 in the history of the NFL Combine. He's not at the Combine, obviously, so you can't actually get a top 10 mark. But you get over 42, you're talking about a top 10 vertical jump in front of NFL scouts ever. Excellent in all the other drills, but the most impressive part was he went through quarterback drills. This is after the full pro day battery of tests. Quarterback drills, running back drills, wide receiver drills, and then did punt returns in the stadium for another half an hour. The workout totaled about 4 hours, and then he came and gave another 15-minute media session. So, after taking the Wonderlic test, so you're talking about mentally and physically exhausting. And, the dude is a machine, man. He literally wasn't tired mentally or physically by the time this was all said and done. I've gotten so many questions, though, since this pro day from Grizz people, Bobcat people, general football fans in Montana. What is Tommy Mellott in the NFL? What does he translate to? I've made the comparison multiple times on this show, but when he was asked about this, he took the words right out of my mouth. We'll let Tommy Mellott speak for himself, then we'll analyze.
I think that the immediate reaction would be Julian Edelman, and it's funny. I've told people this today. I have pictures from when I was in the 4th grade, my first practice. And then at football, I had his jersey on, and that was when all he did. He was a rookie, so he was just a punt returner. But I had his rookie card, I had his jersey. He's a guy that I just, for whatever reason, lean towards, I suppose. And so I think that I don't think I'm the exact same individual as Julian Edelman. I think there's going to be a lot of comparisons with that, but I think that he's one person that I like to see myself going in and playing, a 10, 11-year NFL career and helping win Super Bowls, doing stuff like that, and all, whatever it takes. He played defense, he played special teams. He was one of the best, postseason receivers and receivers general in the entire, NFL history. So he's made his mark like no one else, and I believe I can do that as well.
If you know Tommy Mellott, he doesn't really talk much about himself, especially in sort of a forward-projecting or marketing fashion. And I thought that in itself was impressive from him. But that's who I've thought has been his comp for a long time. Julian Edelman was a quarterback at Kent State who then transitioned to be, as Tommy said there, one of the most productive, fearless, and feared slot receivers in the NFL during his 11-year career. I do know through sources close to Tommy that he and Julian Edelman have been in contact, and Edelman's mentoring him a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, because I'm telling you right now, Mellott's been working out as a receiver. He did it a little bit as a freshman before he broke in and became the starting quarterback at Montana State. But in terms of truly dedicating himself to route trees and all that sort of stuff, he's been doing this for 12, 13 weeks. And I thought watching him and watching Junior Bergen and Keelan White in Missoula on Thursday, Junior Bergen and Keelan White are pros, right? They are They're excellent. They were multiple-time All-Big Sky guys. Junior Bergen's an All-American. If you'd have to have a pretty keen eye. You'd have to know football really well. I'm not saying Malott was better than those guys. He wasn't. White, especially, is like an exceptional route runner. He's looked like a pro route runner to me since he was a sophomore. But if you know what you're looking for, Malott is not that far behind. And if you're just an average person, just an average football fan, you wouldn't really been able to tell the difference between those guys. And that's pretty dang impressive for a guy that's just picking up the skills. So we'll see what Malott becomes, but I do think it's pretty fun, and it's pretty interesting that Malott himself sees himself as sort of an Edelman prototype. Like it or hate it, for better or worse, you got to have a comp if you want to go to the NFL. Like I always say, to be a professional athlete, you got to have three things. You got to have measurables, you have to have an elite skill, and if you have a comp, that really, really helps you. Well, Malott's got the measurables, no question, especially when it comes to the speed and the strength. He's small. He registered at 5'11 and 7/8 and 200 pounds. But, I mean, that's not that small for an NFL receiver, honestly. It's just small for a prototype quarterback. But he's got the measurables with all the different tests. He's got an elite skill. It's speed. Well, and desire, heart, work ethic, all that. And he's got a comp in Julian Edelman, and he knows it. He acknowledged it. So pretty fun to hear from the kid from Butte, America, projecting himself and sort of making the case for himself on an NFL level. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Thanks to our friends at Palmer's Drug for their continued support. Palmer's Drug is located on Southwest Higgins in Missoula. If you don't just want to be another name on a list, you just want to actually have somebody that cares about you, use your local neighborhood pharmacy. Palmer's Drug will treat you like their neighbor. When you think local pharmacy at Palmer's Drug in Missoula. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some track and field, and we'll also talk some NCAA transfer portal updates from around the Big Sky Conference. That's all next. Keep it right here. It's Nuanez Now.